Ever pondered why we feel guilty after making certain decisions? Picture this. You're at a crossroads. Two paths lie before you. One path is easy, tempting, but somehow feels wrong. The other path is harder, daunting, yet it feels right. That nagging little voice in the back of your mind, urging you to choose the difficult but morally upright path. That's your conscience. It's that invisible, guiding force that helps us distinguish right from wrong, good from bad. Our conscience plays a pivotal role in decision-making, acting as our personal moral compass. It's a unique and complex part of the human psyche that reflects our personal values and societal norms. Have you ever experienced that sinking feeling of regret, or perhaps a sense of guilt, after making a decision that conflicts with these values or norms? That's the emotional response triggered by our conscience. It's a reminder, a nudge, to realign our actions with our moral compass. That, my friends, is your conscience at work. To better understand the role of conscience, let's delve into a classic tale, the honest woodcutter. Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled between lush green hills, there lived a humble woodcutter. He was known for his integrity and hard work, but life was tough, and he earned just enough to get by. One day, while he was chopping wood by the tranquil river, his only axe slipped from his grasp and fell into the deep water. Distraught, he sat on the riverbank, his heart heavy with despair. After all, without his axe he couldn't work, he couldn't earn, he couldn't eat. Just then, a shimmering figure emerged from the water, a beautiful water nymph. She asked him why he was so upset, and the woodcutter told her about his lost axe. The nymph, moved by his plight, dived into the water and reappeared with a golden axe. "Is this your axe?" she asked. The woodcutter looked at the axe, its gold glistening in the sunlight. It was far more valuable than his own, and he could sell it for a fortune. But then he remembered the weight of his own axe, the familiar grooves in the handle. He shook his head. "No, that's not my axe." The nymph disappeared and returned with a silver axe. "Is this your axe?" she asked. Again, the woodcutter was tempted. The silver axe was still worth a lot and could change his life, but still, he said no. Finally, the nymph returned with a simple iron axe. The woodcutter's face lit up. "Yes, that's my axe," he exclaimed, his heart filled with joy. The water nymph, impressed by his honesty, gave him all 3 axes as a reward. "Your honesty deserves to be rewarded," she said before disappearing into the river. The woodcutter returned home, his heart lighter and his pockets heavier. Word of his honesty spread throughout the village, and he was respected more than ever. Now let's reflect on this tale. The woodcutter's conscience was his guide, his moral compass. He could have lied and taken the golden or silver axe, but he chose honesty. He chose to listen to his conscience, even when it was the harder choice. And it was this decision, guided by his conscience, that led to his reward. The woodcutter's story is a timeless reminder that our conscience is a beacon, guiding us through the complexities of life. It's an internal voice that encourages us to uphold our values, even when faced with tempting shortcuts. It nudges us to choose right over easy, integrity over deceit. And while the woodcutter's reward was material, the true reward lay in the respect he earned, the self-esteem he fortified, and the peace of mind he found. His story teaches us that when we let our conscience guide us, we not only live with integrity, but also invite positive consequences into our lives. The woodcutter's conscience guided him to honesty, and he was rewarded for it. But how does this apply to our modern society, you might wonder? Well, the tale of the honest woodcutter resonates with us today more than ever. In this fast-paced era, we are constantly bombarded with choices. Choices that don't only dictate our lives, but also shape our character. Imagine you're a student, preparing for a crucial exam. Your friend has somehow managed to get hold of the question paper. Would you take a peek? Or consider you're a busy professional, struggling to meet a deadline. You find a glaring error in your work, but fixing it means missing the deadline. Would you let it slide or own up to it? These are not mere hypothetical scenarios. They are everyday dilemmas that we encounter. And in these moments, it's our conscience that whispers the right path to us. It's that inner voice, reminding us of the woodcutter's honesty, urging us to choose the path of integrity. But the voice of conscience isn't always loud. It can be drowned in the cacophony of societal expectations, personal ambitions, and the desire to fit in. That's why it's important to cultivate a habit of listening to it, to pause, reflect, and ask ourselves, what would the honest woodcutter do? The relevance of conscience in our modern society extends beyond personal decisions. It's the conscience of the leaders that shape policies, the conscience of businesses that drive ethical practices, the conscience of scientists that direct responsible innovation. It's the collective conscience of society that defines the moral fabric of our world. So, the next time you find yourself at a crossroads, remember the story of the honest woodcutter. Remember that your choices not only impact you, but also set a precedent for others. And most importantly, remember that your conscience is not just a voice inside your head. It's a reflection of who you are, a testament to your character. In a world full of choices, your conscience can be your most reliable compass. Curious about what goes on in your brain when your conscience speaks? Well, let's dive into the neuroscience behind it all. It's a fascinating journey that takes us into the depths of our mind, where thoughts, emotions, and morals intertwine. Our conscience, that little voice in our head that guides our moral compass, is not a mystical or abstract concept. It's a concrete result of complex processes happening within our brain. It's like a symphony orchestra with different sections of the brain playing different parts, all coming together to produce the harmonious melody that is our conscience. At the heart of this orchestra is the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for decision-making and social behavior. When we're faced with a moral decision, it's our prefrontal cortex that weighs the options, considers the consequences, and ultimately helps us decide what to do. Then there's the amygdala, our emotional powerhouse. This little almond-shaped structure in our brain helps generate feelings of guilt when we act against our moral compass. It's like a vigilant sentinel, always on the lookout for any missteps, ready to flood us with regret and remorse when we veer off the path of righteousness. And let's not forget about the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is like the conductor of this orchestra. It integrates the inputs from the other parts, considering both the rational and emotional aspects of a decision. This is where the feelings of guilt get processed and evaluated, helping us learn from our mistakes and guiding us towards better decisions in the future. But the science of conscience is more than just brain structures and functions. It's also about the intricate dance of neurotransmitters, the chemicals that transmit signals in our brain. When we act according to our conscience, our brain rewards us by releasing serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitter. On the other hand, when we act against our conscience, our brain punishes us by reducing the release of serotonin, resulting in feelings of guilt and remorse. Our conscience, as it turns out, is deeply rooted in our brain's wiring. It's a fascinating interplay of neuroscience, psychology, and morality, all working together to guide us on the path of righteousness. So, what have we learned about our conscience today? Quite a lot, actually. We started by asking a simple question: what is conscience? We learned that it is an inner voice, a moral compass, a guiding light that leads us through the maze of life. It's the whisper in our ear when we're about to make a decision, the nudge in our side when we're straying off the right path. We then journeyed back in time to the tale of the honest woodcutter. Remember him? His story is a vivid illustration of the power of conscience. Despite his desperate situation, he chose honesty over deceit, integrity over easy gain, and in the end, his conscience was rewarded. But we also explored how conscience fits into our modern society. We live in a world that often values results over righteousness, success over sincerity. Yet we saw that even in this fast-paced, high-pressure environment, conscience still has a crucial role to play. It keeps us grounded, reminds us of our values, and guides us to make ethical decisions. Our exploration took a scientific turn as well when we delved into the science behind conscience. We discovered that it's not just a philosophical or moral concept, but it has roots in our biology as well. It's a part of our brain's wiring, an integral part of what makes us human. So to wrap it all up, conscience is a powerful tool. It's not always the easiest path to follow, but it's invariably the right one. It's the voice that tells us to do the right thing even when no one is watching. It's the force that pushes us to be better, kinder, more honest individuals. The power of conscience is immense. It can guide us to make better decisions, to live more authentically, to create a more positive impact on the world around us. It can lead us to a life of integrity, of true success that goes beyond material wealth. In the end, listening to your conscience not only leads to better decisions, but a more fulfilling life.